Hello, good morning. Welcome to another morning here in Tenerife. Today I wanted to speak about something that happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. So I was at home working and the doorbell rang. And I opened the door, the gate, and standing there were two middle-aged men, late 50s, early 60s, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So anyway, we ended up getting into a conversation, and one of the guys, one of these guys was quite shorter, stocky kind of guy, and he was clearly overweight. And we got onto the topic of animal rights, and anyway, he told me that he was trying to cut out meat from his diet for health reasons. He told me that he'd been diagnosed with diabetes 2. So anyway, I was doing my thing. I was really getting enthusiastic and saying, keep it up. It's a really good decision. It will help you in all areas of your life, not just your health. But the other guy who was with him was clearly very skeptical, and he said that he didn't agree with veganism. And I asked him why, and he said because he thought that we should be concentrating more on human rights first before we concentrated on animal rights, that we were putting animals in front of humans. And I asked him, and he said, yeah, that in his opinion, we there's starvation in the world. There's people without. There's people in Syria. Where there's war and bombs and all these issues, and that's what we should be focusing on, and not so much on animal rights. And I'd never really considered this argument before, but instinctively I replied that surely if we lived in a world where we were all far more compassionate to animals, where we weren't killing animals just for the taste of them, where we weren't causing all this suffering and slaughter and all the rest of it, surely that would spill over into the world of human rights, and we would all be a lot less aggressive towards each other. And so by becoming vegan, we would actually be making a big contribution towards human rights. But anyway, we had a nice conversation. I enjoyed it, and they went on their way. And afterwards, I thought about it a little bit more and wanted to do a little bit of research. I wanted to dig into it and find out exactly whether this argument held any water or not. So yeah, I did some research, and what I found out was, or I thought about it myself, but I also read a couple of articles, and yeah, my suspicions were confirmed. Because if I decide to go on a plant-based diet, if I decide to be more compassionate towards animals, if I decide for health reasons, environmental reasons, whatever reason, to go vegan, in what way does that affect my actions when it comes to human rights? Surely it doesn't. Surely I can be a vegan and concerned about refugees in Syria. Surely I can be vegan and be concerned about the abuse of children. I mean, I don't understand why somebody would think that. And if you think about it, all going plant-based it's just basically going on a plant-based diet. So I don't understand the logic between how switching to a plant-based diet, and by doing so causing less suffering to animals. I don't see how that affects somebody's ability to be concerned about human rights. My daughter-in-law, for instance, and if you think about it, you could use this argument for virtually anything. I was in Sheffield in October, and my daughter-in-law and my son actually was telling me they were really concerned about the number of homeless people in Sheffield. The number of homeless is growing and growing, and it's become quite a concern. And she was telling me that she wanted to do something about it. using the argument of the argument that the guy used about human rights, I mean, you could just say, well, why worry about all the homeless people when there are refugees in Syria? Surely that's far more serious. Why worry about the homeless when there are child labour, when there's all lots and lots of children, child labour going on in China? So, just because one issue might be, in somebody's opinion, more important than another, doesn't mean that all of these problems could do with solving. And as I said originally to the visitors at the door, surely if we all became more compassionate, it would automatically mean less suffering for humans as well. And then I found out that the actual meat and dairy industry is responsible for a huge amount of human suffering. Most of the people who work in slaughterhouses, for instance, are poor migrant workers who can't find work anywhere else. And these jobs have got the highest rate of suicide of virtually any profession. Horrible jobs. And yet we pay these people, probably not very well, to do our dirty work so we can eat meat from the supermarket shelf. What about all the tannery workers in India and Bangladesh, where these people work to produce leather? And most of them, I found out, don't live beyond the age of 50 because the conditions are that the conditions are that bad, and they're surrounded with this poisonous air and contaminants and all sorts of things. And all this is a direct result of the animal agriculture industry. So to summarize, what I actually found out was what I thought in the first place. If we all actually switched to a plant-based diet and became vegan, and we weren't causing suffering to animals in the way that we are, and we all had this feeling that we were more compassionate, then surely this would spill over into the human realm, and the world would be a better place. So the message is, very clearly, by going vegan, not only are you making a stand for animal rights, you're also making a stand for human rights as well. So yeah, hope that made sense. See you tomorrow.